Okay.
Hi, Grammy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay.
So I've been talking to Dad about his story,
Yeah.
but I thought maybe I would ask you.
Okay. I'm not as exciting as him, but he's a crazy pants.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by exciting.
Oh, well, yeah.
It doesn't have to be that exciting.
I know. But he's got more stories, interesting stories, whatever.
Oh, your stories are interesting. He just is willing to talk about them more.
I guess. No. Yeah. That when I was little. That when I was little. It was just, whatever. But so,
So, well, I thought we'd start by talking about, like, where did you grow up?
well,
Where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Hmm.
My p well, George and Ann, my parents, they actually lived around the corner from each other. They grew up together, and, my they both came from families of 8.
Hmm.
Poppy was the oldest of his family, and he had 6 brothers, well, there 6 boys and 2 girls, and Gigi was the youngest. Ann was the youngest of her family, and she had 3 girls and 5 boys. The house that Gigi lived in, I know a little more about. She lived with her grandparents and her family. And as each one of them got married, they moved back into the house. They just took another room, in there. So everybody kind of lived together pretty much until, eventually, I guess they went on their own, each of her brothers and sisters. I know when she was pregnant, she lived in the house with her father when she was pregnant with me. And I think after she had me, that's when they moved out and stuff. And she always talked about how she hated my father growing up because he used to do things like he stole her roller skates to make a go-kart and things like that. He was, a boy,
Right. And then her
crazy
brothers had
boy.
to beat him up, right?
Yeah, her brothers would beat him up. I know my grandfather used to make wine all the time, and he used to like to get, of course, when he was a little older, like to get him drunk and my father drunk and stuff. He'd always, you know, have him drink the wine with him and stuff. And they always
Because
played. Say that again?
he was funny.
Strong wine. Yeah.
Strong one.
And they played.
I remember Uncle Charlie telling a story about how they made Apple Jacks in the aluminum container instead of he called it Apple Jacks. It was a hard apple cider,
Okay.
and they didn't use they usually use the wood barrel to age the wine in,
Right.
but for some reason, Uncle Charlie, your Uncle Charlie's father, your grandfather, he got an aluminum canister, and he aged it in the aluminum, and he said it tasted horrible.
Oh,
Uncle Charlie and his dad were the only 2 that would eat it and would drink
mhm.
it, but they refused to throw it out. They drank the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, like, these are nasty aluminum in the but that's the way it was. They spent the money on it, so they
So
used
they
it.
had, yeah. Yeah. So like then I said, like we moved into an apartment, and then we had my sister and stuff. They had my sister. And that's what, and then the little boy across in the apartment, like across the way, was my first boyfriend, and his name was Bobby. And I always said that was prophetic that I would marry a Bobby. Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't feel that I had a really happy childhood and everything. Christmas was a big thing in our family with me and my mom and dad. My dad used to paint murals on the windows, and I always remember that. He's very talented in art and in singing and different things like that.
Wait, he used the soap to draw on the windows with or something?
I guess so. I guess colored soap. Yeah, because it
Maybe.
was colors and stuff. But I don't know. Can't find out now. I doubt if my sister might remember, but I doubt. Well, she was, yeah, she might remember, but I doubt it.
Might have asked him at some point.
Yeah.
So, your Gigi's and her parents were both from Italy.
Yes.
So, her father came alone
Hmm.
as a young adult, I believe, is that right?
I think so.
And then her mother came with her parents?
Yeah.
Is that how it worked?
Yeah. I think so. But they
No,
actually lived with my grandfather's parents. They lived in the house with him. So, yeah.
So they came over as well.
Yeah,
So
oh,
who knows
yeah.
when.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. So that, they were like I said, they lived in this one building all together, and, um, can't remember the street. Granddad actually went to visit and saw the house and everything when he was working in Brooklyn and everything.
Yeah.
But it was like I guess it was like a brownstone type of thing where they had a lot of different apartments or, rooms and stuff. So,
Right, and they could adjust it fairly easily.
yeah. Yeah.
If not legally, at least it was adjustable.
Right. Right. Yeah.
They were families, so it was okay.
Yeah, it was all their family on the whole building. But, so I had, like, between both families, I had, like, 40 cousins, so there was always things going on and stuff, and, a lot of fun and everything. Then
Right.
Aunt Rosie and Uncle Hank, they got a bungalow out in Selden. And we used to come out there on summers and everything, and it'd be like just beds all over the place, and you would just find a place to sleep, that was it. And we just always together. But it was like back in that day, like we actually had to go down the street to pump water because there was no running water or anything like that. And they had an
Well,
outhouse.
so
So
this is on Long Island
in Long Island, in
in the
Selden.
1950s. The bungalow was no running water.
Right.
Was it a communal place, or
What do you mean?
did other people get water from the same pump, or was it just for the family?
I think it was other people too. Other people too. I mean, I was pretty little at the time. I was like 3 or 4, at that point. Then they converted it and everything. We had an outhouse in the back that we had it to, and we always laugh about it because they built it on a hill,
Yeah,
the outhouse kind of thing.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
So they had to build the septic system,
Right. Right.
and
Then they lived there.
they put it in the hill,
Oh,
which
right.
was above the house,
Yes.
and so when they tried to flush the toilet, the gravity pushed up instead of
Right.
down,
Right. And they were
and then they
plumbers.
realized they were plumbers.
Well, my dad was a plumber. Uncle Tony was a plumber. But I guess they didn't.
Oh, granddad. What's granddad saying? I won't be able to hear
I
him.
don't know. We didn't hear what you said. What'd you say? They put the septic tank in the same place. Of course, the outhouse
So
was
the
there.
outhouse is already there,
Yeah,
and they just put the
yeah. And it's so funny because friends of ours actually had a house next door later on, like when I was an adult, after you were born and stuff. And, we could see like all our names written in the cement. We all had written our names in there and everything. Pilar and Hector lived in the house next to it.
yeah, a friend from Rob's friend.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, who became our friends. And, like, we always had parties. There was always, a lot of stuff going on with, my mother's family. Later on was more my father's family because they were young then. My Aunt Iris was only, like, 6 years older than me. So they were, we weren't, they when
Right.
we
So
moved.
Gigi being the youngest,
Right,
all of her family moved on and passed away before Poppy's family.
right. Yeah. So,
Right.
but
So let's wait, back in Brooklyn,
yeah.
so you had, your 2 grandparents there, and your grandfather was not a very kind person, but we won't get into that too much,
No, we're
but
not gonna get into it at all, but yeah.
and then Gigi and Poppy got married, they were 18 and 21? Is that right?
18, yeah, I guess he probably turning 21. Only 2 years apart, so he was probably 20.
Okay, I thought there were 3. Okay, and then, so what year would that have been? My
It
goodness,
was 51, I think it was. So, 'cause I was born in
1951.
'53. So
Right.
so we got married 51.
Okay, and so grandma's mom passed away at that time, or around
So
in
a
between those
year. No, no, before that. She passed away in, I guess 51. I think she passed away in
after
51.
the wedding, before you were born?
Yes. Yes, she actually passed away on Aunt Mary Ann's birth when she was born, that same day.
The same day. Wow. Okay. And so but then grandma, Gigi, great grandma, she had 2 older sisters, and Aunt Rosie was 10 years older than her, right? And she almost became a surrogate parent at some point
Well,
around then.
Aunt Mary actually took care of Gigi more because she was older.
Okay.
And Aunt, well, you know Aunt Rosie, she was just a fun-loving, wonderful person who, she could barely take care of herself. She was not responsible, let's say. So,
Right, but it was always in the moment. She was
yeah,
having fun.
exactly, exactly.
We don't know anyone like that.
No, I don't.
So maybe this is where Jonathan gets it from.
Well, he gets it from both sides of the family, I guess, huh?
True. Poor guy. Alright, so then, what happens after that? They got the bungalow and you guys would visit, but you moved to Long Island when you were 5.
Yes. Yeah, and
Yeah. So
they
before
already
that
converted the bungalow into a livable place. They were living there, and we were like just around the corner from them. That's at
right.
that point.
So there was a story, so you said when you were born, you were in the house that Gigi grew up in,
Yes.
and then there was a fire?
No, not there. Wasn't there.
Not there.
I don't think. Actually, I think it was in the bungalow. Actually, because there were a lot of
Wow.
people there and everything. So,
So what happened in the fire?
oh,
You
well,
talked
I was
about
in the
just
crib, because I was just born, and my everybody ran out, and my grandfather went back to get me because I guess they forgot about me or whatever. That's it, yeah. But before we moved out
right,
there, we actually moved around the corner from my other grandparents, from my father's parents. We lived around there and stuff for, a
right.
year or two, whatever.
So I don't know as much about Poppy's parents, but I do know that his mom was very young when Poppy was born.
Yeah, she was. And I think she was only like 58 when my grandfather passed away. And she had all these young kids, because my father was only, in his early 20s and he was the oldest. And like I said, Aunt Iris was only, a few years older than me. Well,
Right, right,
yeah, she was young. I did Ancestry and I actually have their marriage certificate, but I think they lied anyway about the ages and stuff back then. She might have been younger and got married before she was 18. I don't really know. I have to look at the marriage certificate. I never really pursued it.
yeah, from what I heard, it was like her birth certificate and her marriage certificate, and maybe there was some other legal document, all had different birth years or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, yeah, but I'm not
It
sure
was
because back then they really didn't keep records like they do now. Especially if you
right,
came over from Italy and stuff, you could tell them, "Oh, yeah, I'm this age," and okay, or
right,
maybe
but that's not Poppy's parents.
right. I know, but I'm just saying. I know she had a lot of brothers and sisters too, Grandma Lena, and
Yeah,
and we saw them occasionally. And from what I heard, some of them were quite rich and stuff, but
right,
through marriage or whatever. My one Aunt Etta, lived in an art community upstate, and she was an artist and did all that kind of stuff and everything. And then, of course, Uncle
right.
Izzy and Aunt Helen owned a liquor store in Brooklyn and stuff.
And so they probably did pretty well for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, right, right. And I was actually named after my Aunt Catherine. That was one of her sisters.
Right,
And then I heard she was quite rich. And maybe they were hoping to get
right,
some money, but they didn't. And then there was Uncle Matty and stuff, one of her brothers. So it was a lot of different family members. But
right.
my grandmother actually was in like a foster home for a while, and then her mom took her back. I guess it was during the war, and it was all crazy, and they were Jewish, so it was a lot of difficult
Well,
times.
that it would have been World War One, probably, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess there wasn't so much with the Jews back then, huh? I just know that when she married my grandfather, they disowned her. Her family disowned her because they were Jewish and he wasn't. He's Lutheran, I believe.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, and like we knew Uncle Izzy quite well. He used to come over, for holidays and things like that. And Etta, I met a few times, but I really didn't know much about my grandmother's. And back then, we didn't really ask questions. It just, that was what it
right.
was. I wish I would have asked her more questions and things like that. But
What about Poppy's father? He had family, or I don't really know anything about
I
him.
don't really know anything about him.
Mhm.
I think I was, about 7 or 8 when he passed away. But I just know he was really, really nice, you know. I was the oldest grandchild, so I was like, wonderful. "Oh, she smokes cigars," and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
they were bad," you know.
They're very sneaky ones. They play a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. That's the only thing I really remember about him is that and he was really funny and stuff, and he looked a lot like Uncle Rudy. Yeah, you would know, but,
Right. But he didn't act a lot like him, I guess.
no, he no. Yeah, he
Well, he grew up with the name Randolph, so he had to be able to defend
Rudolph,
himself.
Rudolph, Uncle
Rudolph.
Rudolph.
Oh, sorry, Rudolph is even worse.
Yeah, yeah. And that was actually my grandfather's name too, Rudolph.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So, hmm, Poppy had to stop going to school. How old was he when he stopped?
I
Do
think he was in
you
8th
know, or what
grade.
grade?
8th grade was
What
when he
grade?
stopped.
8th. Oh, he made it all the way to 8th grade.
I'm pretty
I thought he
sure.
was
I think so, yeah. But he couldn't read. He was always trying to read, always going to, places that would teach you how to read and everything. I was actually supposed to help him later on, but we just never got around to it. I didn't know. I didn't know how to teach him to read, kind of thing. But I always spelled for him. Every time anything came up, I was always the one to spell everything for him and stuff.
right.
Because
Which worked out because then you had to spell for granddad,
that's true. Yeah.
and now you have to spell for me.
Well, not so much now, but when you were in school, I used to help you out. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
He's the only person who knows how to spell in this family.
I know.
Not really true.
Gigi didn't graduate, but she went to 12th grade. For some reason, she didn't
Okay.
graduate. I don't know why. But back
Yeah.
then, it wasn't like it was now. People, did all sorts of crazy things. I don't know. Well, most of her brothers did go into the service because they fought in the wars, so World War II and stuff. I think all of them did. Um,
So who are grandma's brothers? Uncle Tony's the oldest, right? Or
right,
his family?
right. Then there's Uncle Steve, we called Uncle Starch because he was just,
He was
oh, that's a nickname he got.
'Cause he was so stiff,
Yeah.
they called him stiff.
And then there was Uncle Dominic, and he was a character. He never married. He used to gamble. He used to follow the horses. He'd live in Florida when, the racing was down there. Then he'd come up to New York. He'd go back and forth and stuff, everything.
I remember I brought him up recently because we were talking about stuff about our family history and whatnot, and I wasn't sure if there was some type of mental health issues with him.
Not that I know of. I don't know. Not that I know of.
Right.
But then there was Uncle Charlie, I'm sorry, did I
Yeah,
interrupt?
no, because he didn't really get along well in society and stuff.
Right. Yeah, he was kind of
Uncle Charlie is Carmine,
mine, right. And then there was Uncle Connie, who
Connie.
probably Canio. That's what was my grandfather's name was Canio. So I guess he was named after him and stuff.
No vetoes, huh?
No, no Ritos, a Vinny, anything like that. But we did have a Tony.
Yeah.
That's always, yeah. We did have a Mary and a Rosa. Aunt Rosie was Rosie. And my mom's name, sometimes it was Anna, sometimes it was Annie. Who knows? Everything she has had different names on it. So
But
actually,
not as bad as Poppy's.
well,
So
yeah,
what was his name?